Welcome to Age Potential TV. I'm Lori Campbell, your host, gerontologist, and advocate of your best life, here to introduce you to an emerging trend called Age Potential. Here's to living out your age potential. When is the last time you posed the question of why not to yourself? Ray Harris is a self-employed problem solver who wrote the book, Welcome to Why Not, which challenges us to stop saying why and start saying why not. Thank you, Ray. It's a pleasure to have you here today, and I want to talk about your book. Your book is really a blueprint for American urban communities that you call Wynott, and you spell it W-Y-N-O-T-T. Right. Could you tell us a little bit why you wrote the book and what is the significance to asking why not?
Well, Lori, it was very interesting. In my 50 years of professional career in developing real estate and writing books and doing a variety of things over 50-some years, I became very frustrated with the way people do things, the obsolete, unaffordable, antiquated way that people do things for no good reason at all, when there are best practices around the country, sensible way that the same things are being done. And I used to make a list of all these things that I couldn't understand why people still do these old things. And I made a list on the other side of the ledger of the right way to do things. And somebody said to me, you ought to write a book about that. Why are things like this? And why not do things like this? And so the evolvement was that I came up with this mythical city called Wynott, and I intentionally spelled it W-Y-N-O-T-T. Mm-hmm. It's a place where people do things the way things ought to be done.
Interesting. So how does that relate to, obviously it enhances communities, but how does that relate to you and your personal journey, life journey? How is that question of why not enhancing you as a person?
Well, I fortunately, now I look at it fortunately, since the age of 5, I've been pretty much on my own. I was the middle child, and I resented at the time my parents favoring my older brother and my younger brother, and they just sort of left me grow like Topsy. And I've been making my own decisions since the age of 5, and I take the consequences of what I do, and I get the credit for what I do. But all my life, I've been deciding what I should be doing and what I shouldn't be doing. I've never had a job. My children call it unemployed. I call it self-employed. But all my life, I've been making my own decisions, and I don't have to ask permission from anybody, and I can't lay the blame anywhere. I'm it. Mm-hmm. So I think there are lots of satisfactions in living like that. It's tough at times. You have to bring food home to the children, and if you're not getting a salary, it's tough.
So a self-directed life. You're in the driver's seat of your life.
Oh, my entire life.
Yes.
I've never received a paycheck except when I was in the Army.
Sure. Well, Ray, you've been coined as a problem solver. A person who brings fresh ideas to existing communities. Do you apply the same problem-solving techniques in your personal life when you encounter a challenge?
Well, you really need to know, my hero in literature was Don Quixote. Mm-hmm. And I've spent my life, Don Quixote is the one who was tilting at windmills, thought he could do everything. He was sort of crazy, but he thought he could do everything. That's the impossible dream. And I've lived that life. I've taken on challenges all of my life. I've never knowingly done things that are easy, that are replicating what somebody else has done. I've taken on things. I look at things not the way they are, but the way they ought to be. That's the way I look at things. Mm-hmm. And in doing that, all my life, I've taken on these challenges. I've set goals for myself that stretch. They're lofty goals. And my ideas are, if I'm well trained, well prepared, and I persist. Persist. Don't give up. Most of the time you win. Most of the time you achieve your goals. And again, I was in athletics and wrestling. And if I was well trained and I didn't give up, I won most of the time. And that's been my attitude on life, is that most of the time, tell me I can't do something, and then it's going to get done.
Sure.
That's my attitude.
Sure. So obviously these challenges and overcoming has really enhanced your life on a personal level, it sounds like.
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. I can't wait to get up in the morning. I've got so many things that I want to do, and I can't wait to do them. And that's it's an attitude, and it's an attitude of being able to meet a goal, to achieve a goal. And you know there's going to be obstacles and roadblocks along the way, but if you don't give up, eventually you're going to get to the goal.
Sure.
And almost all the time I've been able to do that.
Wonderful. And so I would call that self-efficacy in our gerontological training. It's small successes that you've built on and you've mastered the art of taking on a challenge.
And it increases the self-confidence enormously.
Absolutely.
I have no idea how I'm going to meet a goal that I set for myself and some of these creative new things that I've done. But I'm down here and I want to get up here, and I have no idea the route, but I'm going to get there, and I do.
Sure.
And you get to a point where you have so much confidence in being able to achieve that goal that it works.
Sure. So obviously, you've shared with me before that you haven't gone without resistance in this why not thinking. What helps you persevere with all the naysayers that you've encountered?
Well, again, it's the same thing that I've grown up being the person that if I want to do something, I have to step forward. I'm not going to ask somebody else to do it, and I'm not going to ask them for permission. I have to. So I stand up and start doing something, and it's amazing how many of the naysayers climb on board, jump on the wagon and say, we'd like to help you. But the leadership is what's really very important. Somebody has to stand up and be the lead lemming or the Pied Piper. There's a lot of terms for it, but somebody has to be the first. And I've been willing to be that. And it's proven very successful in spite of the opposition. And in many cases, the opposition is just overcome and joins in.
Wonderful. So you're able to bring that inclusiveness, the team spirit, kind of work together.
Well, it's recognizing that I have a theory, the 80-10-10 theory, is that out of 100 people, 10 are in favor, 10 are against, and 80 don't care. And the only ones that show up at meetings are the ones who are against things. But so most people are willing to come along if you lead them.
Sure.
And that's what I've been able to do.
Sure. Well, your book or your concept really encourages the embracing of change and a new perspective. So bridge that to everyday life for me, will you?
Well, I really believe that this is the resistance to change. And you ask, why do you do things like that? And the answer is, we've always done it that way. What kind of an answer is that? And I honestly believe, when I've thought about this a lot of times in writing my book and otherwise, almost everybody, from the day they're born until the day they die, are subservient or answering to somebody higher up. First, your parents tell you what to do, then your teachers tell you what to do, and then your employers tell you what to do. And most people don't have the courage to take the risk of doing things on their own, and it's comfortable to use this, somebody above me is telling me that I shouldn't be doing this. So it's easier to just to do nothing.
To follow.
It's easier to be a follower, and there are very few leaders.
So how do you foster that into someone? How do you foster that into oneself?
I think, honestly, that's one of the toughest things we have in our society right now is to find the true leaders. There are some true leaders who have led people in the wrong direction, but they are leaders because people have followed them. But to get true leaders to stand up and take risks, I mean, it's so easy to say, well, I don't want to take a risk because I might fail, or I don't have enough money, or I don't have the time, or my family is, there are hundreds and hundreds of excuses why not to stand up and do something. And I've just said to myself, we're here now, and somebody needs to get up there, climb that mountain. And I've been willing to do that.
Sure.
And I think it's an attitude that you develop. To me, time doesn't mean anything. I mean,
When you say time, are you referring to your age?
I'm referring to my age and what I do every day. I've never punched a clock. So, in fact, fairly recently, my doctor thought I had diabetes because my blood sugar was way up. Why? Because I'm so busy that I often only eat one meal a day. Well, that's not good for your health, blood sugar and everything else. And the minute I started to be regular, everything was fine. But I get up and I've got so many things going on, and I don't like to quit at quitting. I don't have a quitting time either.
Right.
You
love your work, it sounds like.
Well,
yes.
I love
you have meaningful
whatever I'm
work.
doing. To me, it doesn't work.
Passions usually aren't. That's the
That's
beautiful
right.
thing.
It isn't work. It's what I like to do.
Well, I know you in your book, you dedicated your book to your mother and your father. Would you consider them to be aging role models for you?
You asked me that question. I've thought about that. Number one, I've got good genes. They both lived long. So that's
Longevity.
helpful.
Yep.
That's helpful. Number two, while I resented it at the time, I think they were right on in the way they treated me when I was a youngster, and encouraging me to make my own decisions.
Okay.
And then number three, my mother was an artist, very creative mind, which is the way I think. I don't see what you see. I see what ought to be there. And my father was committed to action, to doing things, and to doing things for the community and for people and everything. So between the creative mind of my mother and the commitment to action of my father, I think they were good role models for me. I do.
Sure. So, is there anything that you want to share with the viewers that has really been a significant influence, or some thought-provoking wisdom you would like to share that you have followed over the lifespan and enhanced your life?
Well, I think more than anything else, I just recognize in what I see in others the reticence to take a risk. And I've broken every bone in my body falling out of trees, and I've played football, and I've done all of these things. But that's been my choice. And once I start something, I always set high goals for myself, and then I am determined not to quit along the way. And I think one of the most important things in our life is set goals and decide you're not going to give up when you run into the first obstacle. You just keep going, and you will achieve that goal most of the time.
Wonderful, wonderful advice. Thank you. Thank you, Ray, for being here and sharing your concept of why not. And it really does prompt us to think, why not?
Why not? Thank you.
Thank you.
Lori.
So the next time you are tempted to use the standard objection of why, remember Ray's challenge and to say to yourself, why not? Until next time, remember, every moment is flowing with possibility.